I'm Päivi, a Finnish artist, and in this video I talk about poetry and how it really inspires me when I paint. This painting started without any plans, but I quite liked it and I wanted to make it more expressive so that I could feel more, I could get connection with it. Painting is always so much more fun and also so much more meaningful when there's a thought behind it. So I decided to find a poem that would fit with the painting. Not what the painting currently is, but what it could become. So here's the poem that I found, and it's quite sad, but I find it so beautiful. And it's called Olkoon niin, which means let it be so. This is from Finnish poet Saima Harmaja, and she has written the poem in 1937. And I read it in Finnish first, and then I've made a translation. I'm not a professional translator, I must say, but still I wanted to get the message through, so I translated it in English. So first I read the poem in Finnish. Jo puiden varjot pitenevät maassa, ja päivä kuolee syksyn pilvihin. Niin hillan hämärässä uhmakkaassa taas mennyt aika palaa takaisin. Oi mikään aika ei voi koskaan kuolla. Alati tajuntasi tuolla puolla, syin salaisin se sua järkyttää. Ja tuskan hetki kerran kärsimäsi jo unhoitettunakin sisälläsi. Se elää loputonta elämää. And now my English translation. Let it be so by Saima Harmaja. Shadows of the trees get longer and the day dies of autumn clouds. In the dusk that's so defiant, the past makes a return. Oh, no time can ever die. Persistently, beyond consciousness, it shocks you for no reason. And the moment of agony, once suffered, even if forgotten, will endlessly live inside you. I painted last night and I added the elements from the poem. So I painted the fall clouds so that they are like veils. I don't always follow the poem in detail and I don't always take the poem literally. I think the wonderful thing in painting a poem is that you can interpret the poem and you can also translate the poem. Like I did translation from Finnish to English. You can also translate the poem in visual language and you don't have to be so literal when I translated the poem from Finnish to English, of course I couldn't use all the similar words. For example, in the Finnish version there's secret reasons, but I wrote the translation so that it shocks you for no reason, because I think that the secret reasons would somehow break the rhythm of the poem. And I feel that it's the same thing when you visualize the poem. You have to find the ways how you visualize. So I thought about the clouds, and I thought that they are like veil that is landing down, and that the veil is actually not the dominating thing in this painting, but it's something that pushes the feeling, the agony up. The poem says that the moment of agony will endlessly live inside you. So I also painted this agony, and I think that here's most of the agony, but I wanted something, it's like a bird feather. I wanted something that reminds the viewer of an animal. And then, because I like to express with flowers, I think they're the most comfortable thing that I can choose when I paint. I wanted to make something flower-like here, and I think that I still have something to adjust here. And then the trees, even if the poem starts with the shadows of the trees that get longer, I don't think it's so central as the moment of agony and the dynamics that is in it. So I painted the trees here in the background and the shadows here, and I made some strokes above them so that they don't look so dominating. And then I always like to include some movement, and I think that here there's a change that the clouds bring, but also the change that happens in the emotions, that you might just first look outside and see the dusk falling down. Maybe you looked outside the window peacefully, and then this change of view raised something that is lively, dynamic, and still includes agony. So I painted agony with the Pyrrole red, and they're quite sharp shapes here. And there's something rising here, which has been quite accidental, really. I often paint abstract shapes, and if I don't like something, I just paint over it and change the shape. But I quite like these that arise from the background. I might highlight those still. And then maybe the veil is not so elegant, but sometimes, you know, I don't want to waste too much time for the elements that are located near the edges and that are not so central. I think that this part is the most central, and I still want to make it more finished. When I started painting poems, I thought that I can't really do that. That's not because I wouldn't have any relationship to poetry. I used to write a lot of poems when I was a child and teenager. I even won some competitions, but I've always felt that visual expression is more fascinating, and I have often felt that when I get a certain emotional state, I want to express that by painting, not so much by writing. But the reason why I thought that I shouldn't paint poems is because most of the poems I like and most of the poems that I've read are in Finnish, in my native language. And then I blog and create online classes and work. My working language is English. And I first felt that if I start painting poems, I should paint English poems. But I just feel so much closer connection with the Finnish ones. So I've now translated some, and I know that they might sound clumsy, and for a professional they might be really naive versions. But, you know, I just want to share the emotion and the message. And I realized that if I want to be perfect, I miss something that I feel that I need to do. And maybe that's something that you can relate to, that there are some things that you have put back, that someday you will do something, and you have found excuses not to do so. And there are so many things, I still have those. And yeah, I just wanted to tell this story and hope that you can relate. That sometimes we have to do things, even if we don't do them perfectly. It's just so that if I try to wait somebody to perfectly translate a poem and then someone else to perfectly paint it, it might take the whole lifetime and I won't ever see it. So I have to do it, and yeah, as you can hear, I feel very strongly about this, and I've really enjoyed painting these. I also paint some poems in my upcoming class, Floral Freedom, which is about creating abstract paintings that represent flowers. So it's abstract floral painting class. And there's another topic that I felt so incompetent of, and that's two books that I've read. Wassily Kandinsky's Point and Line to Plane, and especially this one, Paul Klee's Pedagogical Sketchbook. This book has been groundbreaking in my art making, but I thought that I can't ever create a class from it, because, you know, Paul Klee is no longer with us, and he would be the perfect teacher for this. And he did teach at Bauhaus Art School in 1930s. And then another teacher there was Wassily Kandinsky, and he is no longer with us either. With the poems, I realized that I can wait for all my life somebody to say that, hey Päivi, come to a class where I teach you exactly what Paul Klee said and perfectly translate that to you, and then create floral paintings out of it, even if Paul Klee's style was totally different. That will never happen. So I wanted to create that class, even if it includes my translations of these teachings, even if I can't interpret things exactly like Wassily Kandinsky or Paul Klee has said. But these books have given me so much, and they've taken my expression so much further. One day I just thought that in the same way I'm not a professor of Finnish poetry, I'm not a professor of modern art history either, but no professor can really teach you to paint flowers from these books. Because, you know, these books are filled with technical diagrams, black and white images. They're actually perfect for me, who has studied engineering. I find so much connection with natural science and engineering from these diagrams, and they have been really groundbreaking to me. But I understand that if you don't have the engineering background, looking at these diagrams may be off-putting, and finding the connection with abstract florals, beautiful paintings that you can paint freely, is not obvious. Now when I've been teaching online for 6 years, this is maybe my legacy to the art world, that I try to build bridges between things that are not usually connected. So the registration is open. The class will begin on December 4th. But if you watch this video later, you can sign up later and you can catch up.